I saw a man in a raincoat, and now I can't sleep. The house was too quiet. That was the first thing I noticed. After years of the city's relentless hum, the constant thrum of traffic and sirens, this stillness felt wrong. Sarah loved it, said it was the perfect escape, the antidote to my stress-induced burnout. She'd found the place online, a quaint little Victorian on the outskirts of Havenwood, upstate New York. Just what you need, Liam, she'd said, her eyes shining with optimism. Fresh air, no deadlines, just peace. Peace? Ironic, really. The insomnia had returned with a vengeance. Maybe it was the change in scenery, the unfamiliar creaks and groans of the old house settling, or maybe it was something else entirely. Whatever the cause, I was spending my nights pacing, staring at the ceiling and feeling that familiar knot of anxiety tightening in my chest. We'd been in Havenwood for about 3 weeks when I first saw him. It was around 3 a.m. I was downstairs, nursing a lukewarm cup of tea, trying to lose myself in a book. The woods behind our property were a black, impenetrable wall in the darkness. I'd always felt uneasy about them, a sense of something watching from the shadows. Then I saw him. He was standing just inside the tree line, maybe 50 yards away, a figure cloaked in a long, yellow raincoat. The hood was up, obscuring his face. He was perfectly still, just standing there, watching. My heart hammered against my ribs. I stood frozen, unsure if what I was seeing was real. Maybe it was a trick of the light, a stray deer caught in the shadows, but deep down I knew it wasn't. I blinked and he was gone. I told myself it was fatigue, stress, my imagination running wild in the dead of night. But the image of that figure, that splash of yellow against the darkness, stayed with me. It was a stain on my mind. The next night he was there again, in the same spot, at the same time. This time I grabbed my phone and fumbled for the camera, but the picture came out blurry, just a dark smudge with a faint yellow glow. I tried to tell myself it was nothing, but my hands were shaking. I started documenting the sightings. Every night I'd creep downstairs, my heart pounding, and peer into the darkness. Sometimes he was there, sometimes he wasn't. But the uncertainty was always present, a constant, gnawing fear. Sarah noticed I was becoming more withdrawn, more anxious. "Liam, you're not sleeping," she said one morning, her voice laced with concern. "You look terrible." I hesitated, then told her about the man in the raincoat. She listened patiently, but I could see the skepticism in her eyes. "Liam, honey, are you sure you're not just stressed? Maybe you should talk to someone." "I know what I saw, Sarah," I insisted. "He's out there, watching." "Okay," she said softly, taking my hand. "Okay, I believe you, but maybe it's just a neighbor walking his dog or something harmless. Don't let it consume you," but it was consuming me. I started noticing other things. Little things. Objects moved slightly out of place. Unexplained noises in the house. The feeling of being watched even when I was inside. I installed security cameras, hoping to capture something, anything, to prove I wasn't losing my mind. But the cameras only showed the woods, swaying trees, and the occasional raccoon, nothing else. One afternoon I decided to talk to Mrs. Henderson, our elderly neighbor. She lived in a small, overgrown cottage down the street. She seemed harmless enough, a sweet old lady with a fondness for gardening and gossip. "Mrs. Henderson," I said after she'd invited me in for tea, "have you ever seen anyone strange around here? Someone wearing a yellow raincoat?" Her eyes flickered, and a strange expression crossed her face. "A yellow raincoat, you say?" she asked, her voice suddenly low and raspy. "Yes," I said, leaning forward, standing in the woods near my property. She was silent for a moment, stirring her tea slowly. "This town," she finally said, "has a long history. Things happen here, things that can't be explained." She told me stories about unexplained disappearances, strange occurrences, and a local legend about a figure seen before tragedies. "A figure wearing a yellow raincoat. They say he's a harbinger," she whispered, her eyes wide. "A sign of something terrible to come." I left her cottage feeling more uneasy than ever. Desperate for answers, I contacted the local police department. Detective Harding, a weary-looking man with a world-worn face, listened to my story with polite skepticism. "Mr. Walker," he said after I'd finished, "I appreciate you coming in, but frankly, we get calls like this all the time. People see things in the woods, especially at night. Usually it's just teenagers messing around, but I'm telling you this is different," I pleaded. "He's always there, watching. I have pictures, but they are blurry. The security cameras haven't picked him up." I think this is real hard inside. All right, Mr. Walker. I'll have someone patrol the area a few times, but I can't promise anything. These things usually resolve themselves. The police patrols did nothing. The man in the raincoat continued to appear, a silent, spectral presence in the darkness. My dreams became increasingly vivid and disturbing. I would see him standing in my bedroom, his face hidden by the hood, his presence radiating an unsettling cold. I would wake up in a cold sweat, my heart racing, the image of him seared into my mind. I started spending my days at the local library, poring over old newspapers and historical records, searching for any mention of the man in the raincoat. Finally, I found something. A newspaper clipping from the 1950s, detailing the disappearance of a young girl named Emily Carter. A witness claimed to have seen a man in a yellow raincoat near the area where Emily vanished. The case was never solved. That night, I couldn't sleep at all. I was convinced the man in the raincoat was more than just a figment of my imagination. He was something else, something malevolent. I had to do something. I grabbed a flashlight and a baseball bat and headed out into the woods. Sarah woke up and tried to stop me, but I pushed past her, my mind racing. "Liam, please don't do this," she cried, her voice filled with fear. "You're going to get hurt." "I have to, Sarah," I said, my voice trembling. "I have to know what he wants." The woods were dark and silent, the air thick with the smell of damp earth and decaying leaves. I moved slowly, my flashlight beam cutting through the darkness. "Hello," I called out, my voice echoing through the trees. "I know you're out there. Show yourself silence." Then I saw him. He was standing a short distance away, partially obscured by the trees. The yellow raincoat glowed faintly in the darkness. "What do you want?" I shouted, my voice trembling. "Why are you doing this?" He didn't answer. He just stood there watching. I started to walk towards him, my heart pounding. He turned and disappeared into the trees. I ran after him, crashing through the undergrowth, my flashlight beam bouncing wildly. He was fast, moving silently through the woods like a ghost. I chased him deeper and deeper into the forest, becoming increasingly disoriented. The trees seemed to close in around me, the darkness pressing in from all sides. I stumbled upon a dilapidated cabin, hidden deep in the woods. It was falling apart, the windows boarded up, the roof sagging. It looked like it had been abandoned for decades. I hesitated, then pushed open the creaking door. The inside of the cabin was dark and musty, filled with a strange, unsettling atmosphere. There were disturbing drawings on the walls, crude images of distorted figures and grotesque scenes. I found a collection of strange objects, animal bones, dried flowers, and a small, worn doll with missing eyes. The man in the raincoat appeared in the doorway. "Who are you?" I demanded, raising the baseball bat. He didn't answer. He just stood there, his face still hidden by the hood. I lunged at him, swinging the bat with all my might. He dodged the blow and grabbed my arm, his grip surprisingly strong. A struggle ensued, the cabin filled with the sounds of grunts and curses. During the fight, I managed to knock the hood off his head. I stared in disbelief. His face, I can't describe it properly. It was like looking into a distorted mirror, a twisted, grotesque version of myself. Or maybe there was no face at all, just a swirling mass of shadows. I felt a wave of nausea wash over me. The world started to spin. Then everything went black. I woke up the next morning lying on the ground near my property, the woods silent and still around me. The cabin was gone, or maybe I just couldn't find it anymore. Detective Harding arrived a short time later, looking grim. Sarah had called him, worried sick when I didn't come home. "Mr. Walker," he said, his voice weary, "what happened out here?" I tried to explain, to tell him about the cabin, the drawings, the face, but my words came out jumbled and incoherent. Harding listened patiently, but I could see the doubt in his eyes. "We'll search the area," he said. "But frankly, Mr. Walker, I think you might need to seek some professional help. You're clearly under a lot of stress." The police investigation turned up nothing. No cabin, no drawings, no sign of the man in the raincoat. Sarah was deeply concerned. She made me promise to see a therapist and start taking medication. I did as she asked. I went to therapy, I took the pills, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I was still being watched. One evening a few weeks later, I was sitting in my living room staring out the window. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the yard, and then I saw him. He was standing across the street in the distance, partially obscured by the trees. The man in the raincoat. He was looking directly at me, And then he smiled. I still live in Havenwood. Sarah says I'm doing better, that the medication is working, but I still can't sleep. And sometimes, late at night, I catch a glimpse of yellow out of the corner of my eye.